Do we have it in us to fight through this?
Hoffman Family Gold, Saturdays 8:30, part of the Summer of Gold.
That's crazy. I mean, this is like military.
You want to fight with me?
This is gonna be a rough 5 days.
I'm Jimmy Smith, a professional mixed martial arts fighter and former math teacher from LA.
I don't need a warm-up. I'm set.
I'm Doug Anderson, an Iraq War veteran and rookie fighter from New Jersey. This is our Fight Quest.
Watch Fight Quest, only on Fight Sports.
Mami lukaw ti mem because mi sabi osem yun na lukaw ti mem too. Mi no like mem kisim one kind heavy osem mi ben kisim.
Putting one bla bomb no party mall tomorrow. You must make it work really good, Arima.
Good job, Apollo. Congrats.
Biyang pla maniete, mi les lo maren.
Biyang pla.
Mi no ga Mary, mi ga girlfriend tasole, e math jemen.
Half shepherd?
Iting mi jamana.
Hello and welcome. This is Midday News. Major restructure is expected in the coming months for state-owned enterprises or SOEs in order to improve efficiency, service delivery, and financial sustainability. Prime Minister James Marape outlined the government's plan to restructure key SOEs, focusing on introducing private sector expertise while maintaining government oversight. He said key sectors like electricity and telecommunication needed partial privatization to enhance management and improve performances, addressing concerns over PNG Power's inefficiency and unreliable electricity supply. Prime Minister Marape emphasized that private sector involvement is necessary to stabilize and improve service delivery. The proposed reforms will enhance better infrastructure investment, more reliable electricity supply, and a financially sustainable PNG Power. The telecommunications sector is also a priority for reform to improve service quality, affordability, and nationwide access to mobile and internet services. President of PNG Law Society Hubert Namani says Papua New Guinea's electoral process must be fixed before the 2027 national general election. Namani said this during the 2025 legal year opening for the NCD recently. Learning with serious concern that the 2022 Electoral Boundaries Commission maps created inconsistencies, leaving some areas without proper representation while others overlap. This is a blunder that must be called and not be ignored. A glaring example of our systematic failure is the deeply flawed electoral process, which undermines democracy at its core. According to Namani, if the electoral process is not fixed, Papua New Guinea is at a bigger risk for instability in 2027. And judging from the January 10th event, it might be worse. Widespread irregularities, violence, and compromise integrity have eroded public trust, making urgent electoral reforms essential to restore faith in our democratic institutions and governance. He said the legitimacy of any government depends on free and fair elections, yet we continue to operate under a broken system. Namani said the best gift the government can give to our people as we look to the next 50 years and beyond is a reformed electoral process, a system that ensures every citizen's vote counts, that is free from violence and fraud, and that restores faith in our democracy. Geogas PNG launched the liquefied petroleum gas or LPG mini terminals in Port Moresby recently. This innovative facility aims to enhance the accessibility and affordability of LPG for households and business throughout the region. Geogas PNG is committed to rolling out LPG mini terminals throughout the country this year to provide LPG access to Papua New Guineans. The mini terminals will allow consumers to refill their gas cylinders based on what they have. This service aims to elevate financial burdens on consumers while promoting sustainable energy solutions. To overseas news. Sydney and large parts of the state have been hit by wild weather, with heavy rain causing chaos. Around 80 millimeters fell in just an hour, prompting warnings for residents to stay indoors. The SCEs has urged caution after conducting dozens of flood rescues.
An iconic skyline lost in the clouds, and roads transformed into waterfalls.
It pissed down. It was crazy.
It was like a classic sort of Sydney storm that comes through.
And it did come through, packing 80 millimetres of rain in just 1 hour.
And that, for us, produced around 21 to 23 flood rescues. Out of that, we've also got around about 300 jobs across Sydney, which are all storm-related.
Across New South Wales, the SCS received more than 550 calls for help. Several vehicles were stuck in floodwaters, but no one was injured.
Drivers don't heed our message, which is do not drive through flooded waters. And our modern-day cars are all electrified in some way. Once they hit that flooded water, they fry, basically, and then they fall stuck in the water.
During the peak of the storms, a watch and act warning was issued for much of Greater Sydney, telling people to stay indoors.
Drainage systems could be maintained a little better than what they currently are, and I think that's part of the reason that the flooding's as bad as what it is when it does rain heavily in Sydney.
We do have the flash flooding, which is a result of drains not being cleared by local councils, and we need to ask them to assist us by cleaning out their gutters, which will stop some of these flood rescues occurring.
The state's south was hit at around 6 a.m, bringing hail and strong winds. It forced the closure of several schools in the Riverina. Ausgrid and Endeavour reported more than 12,000 customers lost power in the Sydney area. Most of them were in the city's west. By mid-afternoon, the worst of the weather had cleared, but forecasters are warning more thunderstorms are on their way.
The Fiji coalition government has kept to its promise to ensure there is media freedom, and its first step was to repeal the Oppressed Media Industry Development Act. Acting Prime Minister Professor Biman Prasad said while opening the annual Pacific Media Partnership Conference in Suva on Tuesday, where over 120 journalists, editors and media executives are attending. Prasad said the government is criticized for many things, both in mainstream and social media. While some criticism is justified, others he feels is a bit unfair. Fiji's coalition government is committed to the freedom of Fiji's people, including freedom of expression, and will not interfere with the independence of any media organisation in the country. Australians discard electric devices at 3 times the global average, and experts warn the problem could escalate. With Microsoft ending support for an older operating system, millions of devices could soon become obsolete and end up in landfill.
As technology accelerates, so too does Australia's electronic waste problem. Companies like this are trying to save what they can from landfill.
If we absolutely can't refurbish the asset and resell it into our global networks that we have around the world, then we'll recycle the acid.
Australia generates about 500,000 tonnes of e-waste annually. That means each Australian produces about 20 kilograms of e-waste a year, compared with the global average of 7 kilograms. About half is recycled. E-waste is projected to rise nearly 30% by 2030. Microsoft's decision to end support for its Windows 10 operating system in October could add another 240 million PCs to the global scrap heap.
There will be a lot of devices that are not able to run that new version.
In Australia alone, that could equate to 12 million kilograms of PCs and assets going into landfill.
Australia does have a mandatory industry-funded scheme for recycling e-waste, but it only covers TVs and computers. The peak body for the recycling industry, ACOR, says the scheme is far from perfect and lacks transparency. It wants urgent action to ensure the producers of all types of electronic products are held responsible for the waste they create. There are also calls for Australia to broaden its right to repair laws. The co-founder of this social enterprise, which collects e-waste, says some companies make it difficult to replace parts.
Technology is constantly turned over and updated, and so there is almost a built-in obsolescence.
A waste problem that could be solved.
That ends our news update. Do join us at 6 for more.